based in the southern city of Guangzhou. He calls the millions of Chinese with severe mental illness not receiving treatment a high-risk time bomb.
There are a lot of mental illnesses that are concealed, such as paranoia. They think others are going to harm them and want revenge, while others have no idea. They are hard to identify because they are able to work and live life to a certain normality. So, when they show abnormal behavior, such as murdering family members, others are shocked. Patients with this type of illness break out only if provoked. They look normal, but they are not. That is why they are dangerous.
A number of violent incidents have drawn international attention to the problem, including a spate of assaults on school children last year that left 21 dead. According to Chinese news reports, at least 3 of the attackers were mentally unstable. He Shengxian has come to Beijing to appeal to China's highest court to spare her brother from execution. Her brother, He Shengkai, has been sentenced to death for charging into a courthouse in Zunyi, Guizhou 2 years ago and in a frenzy stabbing 4 court police officers, killing one of them. The attack was recorded on security cameras and broadcast on Chinese news programs. He's sister says he was showing signs of mental instability in the months before the attack.
He didn't eat things in his house or in my house. He said the food was poisoned. His face always looked dark, and he always talked to himself. What we thought was that he was maybe cursed or something.
He's mother took him to a shaman to try and cleanse him of evil spirits, but his behavior didn't improve. He Shengxian said she'd made plans to take her brother to a mental hospital on October 18, 2009, the day He was arrested. Now, she says she can do nothing but beg for authorities to commute his sentence. She says a mental health expert in Jiangsu province has studied the case and concluded her brother is schizophrenic. However, the court system says He never had a history of mental disorder and has denied the family's appeals.
If he really is mentally disabled, he should be properly treated. Now the technology is so advanced, I believe he could be cured, right? I wish he could be completely healed and come back to a normal life. If my brother really is mentally ill, well, the law has provisions for dealing with that. There are laws. So no matter what we do, we have to deal with it according to the law.
But some legal experts say the law is not consistently applied in cases involving mental illness.
No matter whether you want to put someone into prison or into a mental health hospital, there should be a judicial procedure. Otherwise, it violates the right for the mentally ill for impunity. Because if people commit a crime when they're affected by a mental disorder, then they have a right to be exempted from prosecution.
Huang Shuitao is a lawyer working for the Shenzhen-based NGO Equity and Justice Initiative. She believes China must reform its policies on committing people to mental institutions.
On one hand, many patients with severe mental disease who need treatment haven't received help and medical care. On the other hand, some of those who don't need in-hospital care are forced to stay in hospital for treatment that isn't necessary. If this abuse continues, or the mental patients who should stay in hospital for treatment have not been hospitalised, it will bring double dangers to the society. Not only will the patients suffer without any treatment, but those on the street with a propensity for violence will threaten public security.
14-year-old Wu Junwei is coming home from the hospital. He's been recovering from a deadly attack last April, which left him seriously injured and his village in southern Guangxi province traumatized and baffled. Wu and two cousins were walking home from school when an enraged neighbor charged at them with a kitchen cleaver. The attacker, a local health worker named Yang Jiaqin, first slashed one of the boys, then killed another, Wu Junpei.
I saw him hacking Wu Junpei. I wanted to run, but it was too late. He hacked at my shoulder. I might be already dead if his father and brother had not shouted at him. They said, "You just killed someone. Don't kill another one." So he turned the knife blade around and smashed it on me.
Wu Junwei suffered a deep gash along his shoulder that severed nerves. He says he no longer has full strength in his hand and has not returned to school since the attack.
I'm still afraid to think about what happened. I always have nightmares about how Wu Junpei died.
You dream of him very often? What do you dream about?
He seems to ask for help from us.
He asks you for help?
But Yang Jiaqin's father was standing there doing nothing.
For the family of Wu Junpei, the grief has not subsided.
When I saw my son's body, it was covered with blood, and his eyes were all white. At that moment, my mind was totally blank. I didn't want to see anything or know anything.
After attacking the boys, the killer also hacked to death a couple watching TV at home and an elderly man making firecrackers. No one knew Yang Jiaqin was capable of such horror, but he had already shown signs of violence. 3 days earlier, he had broken into the home of another villager, Wu Wenguang, and attempted to strike him on the head with an axe. Wu showed how he shielded himself with his arm, blocking what would have likely been a fatal blow. When police were called, they told villagers they could do nothing since Yang was mentally ill. Though doctors in Shanghai had diagnosed Yang as schizophrenic, his neighbors say they knew nothing of his condition.
He showed no sign of